Cunning, secretive, informed, and always a few steps ahead. These words perfectly fit two characters on Game of Thrones. Varys, aka the Spider.
The birds sing in the west, the birds sing in the east, if one knows how to listen.
And Peter Baelish, known as Littlefinger.
Gold wins wars, not soldiers.
Both are spy masters who've proven that information can be worth as much as gold in Westeros.
Information is the key. You need to learn your enemy's strengths and strategies. You need to learn which of your friends are not your friends.
Varys and Littlefinger lack physical strength or noble heritage, but they've risen from their humble beginnings, and they've continued to improve their standing since Season 1. Littlefinger started as the head of a lesser house, but learned to manipulate his way up the hierarchy.
The Mockingbird. You created your own sigil, didn't you?
Yes. Some people are fortunate enough to be born into the right family. Others have to find their own way.
Eventually becoming Robert Baratheon's Master of Coin. Varys was born into slavery across the Narrow Sea.
I came from nothing. I was sold as a slave and carved up as an offering.
He learned to survive by organizing his massive spy network.
My little birds are everywhere.
And he was eventually made Master of Whisperers. Their success comes from the ability to make themselves useful while calculating the moves of the other players well before they happen.
Fight every battle, everywhere, always, in your mind.
But for all that they have in common, Varys and Littlefinger maintain opposite perspectives on the morality of power. Littlefinger is purely and openly for himself, always.
Now I understand. When I take the throne, you hope to retain your position and your head.
I would give priority to my head.
While Varys uses the same crafty wiles with the goal of doing what's best for the people.
I did what I did for the good of the realm.
This fundamental difference in the philosophies that drive them is key. Their views of life cause the two characters' fates to ultimately diverge, in spite of their similar talents and strategies.
I admire you.
And I admire you, Lord Baelish. A grasper from a minor house with a major talent for befriending powerful men and women.
A useful talent, I'm sure you'd agree.
So, what do we learn by comparing the ideologies of Littlefinger and Varys?
1,000 blades.
There aren't 1,000 blades. There aren't even 200. I've counted.
I'm sure you have.
Before we go on, be sure to hit subscribe and click the bell to get notifications on all of our new videos. Littlefinger is basically the anti-Jon Snow. His sole purpose in life is to serve himself.
What's in it for me?
To get power and status or anything else that could possibly benefit him.
Littlefinger is one of the most dangerous men in Westeros.
Littlefinger's memorable words,
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
encapsulate his approach to life. Littlefinger does well when there's disorder, confusion, or turmoil around him. It's only when there's uncertainty and distrust that a nobody like him has a shot at rising in social status.
A man with no motive is a man no one suspects.
What this means, though, is not just that Littlefinger flourishes when there happens to be chaos, but also that he has a habit of creating more chaos so that he can thrive.
But he would see this country burn if he could be king of the ashes.
If things are going well or people are getting along, this doesn't create more opportunities for him to improve his situation. So that's where Littlefinger steps in.
Always keep your foes confused. If they don't know who you are or what you want, they can't know what you plan to do next.
For the first 7 seasons, Littlefinger's growing power and survival showed his exceptional smarts and how effective cunning is in Westeros.
Every possible series of events is happening all at once. Live that way, and nothing will surprise you. Everything that happens will be something that you've seen before.
He's great at making alliances because he knows how to offer exactly what someone needs. Everyone knows that Littlefinger is conniving, deceptive, and slippery, but people often feel they can't avoid keeping him around anyway because they have little choice. They need what he's offering.
And I'll know you're a man of your word when I see Sansa Stark's head on a spike.
He even lures people into seeing him as a friend because he's so open about being completely untrustworthy.
Distrusting me was the wisest thing you've done since you climbed off your horse.
The way that he's so candid about his self-serving ambition can be weirdly charming and disarming. But the facts speak for themselves. Over the seasons, he betrays Ned Stark.
I did warn you not to trust me.
Murders his own wife, Lady Arryn.
I have only loved one woman. Your sister.
Brokers a marriage between Sansa and the violent sociopath Ramsay Bolton.
You freed me from the monsters who murdered my family. And you gave me to other monsters who murdered my family.
And instigates a feud between the Stark sisters, to name only a few of his betrayals and transgressions in the pursuit of power. Even his good deeds are for selfish political gain. Littlefinger's one redeeming quality seems to be his love for Catelyn Stark, and his resulting love for her daughter, Sansa. But even these women he betrays.
I loved your mother since the time I was a boy.
And yet you betrayed her.
I loved you.
And yet you betrayed me.
As characters like the Starks are hunted down and seemingly punished for their honor, the show appears to be suggesting that it's necessary to be a total Littlefinger-style opportunist.
Many who try to climb it fail, but never get to try again. The fall breaks them, and some are given a chance to climb, but they refuse. They cling to the realm, or the gods, or love. Illusions. Only the ladder is real. The climb is all there is.
Life to Littlefinger is only this self-centered climb to the top. Others just don't admit it and aren't as good at it as he is. And this is why Littlefinger always looks for and sees the worst in people. Yet at a certain point, seeing the worst everywhere stops working.
Sometimes, when I try to understand a person's motives, I play a little game.
Oddly, it doesn't occur to Littlefinger that Sansa could ever turn this logic back on him.
Sometimes when I'm trying to understand a person's motives, I play a little game. I assume the worst. What's the worst reason you have for turning me against my sister?
But he's become complacent enough to expect that no one can see through to his motivations or beat him at his own game.
Thank you for all your many lessons, Lord Baelish. I will never forget them.
When Bran repeats Littlefinger's words back to him,
chaos is a ladder.
This is a clear message to Littlefinger that he's seen who Littlefinger is, always has been, and will be.
None of you were there to see what happened. None of you knows the truth.
You held a knife to his throat. You said, I did warn you not to trust me.
But you don't need to be clairvoyant to know what a sleazeball Littlefinger is.
Is there an idiot in any village who trusts Littlefinger?
Only a fool would trust Littlefinger.
Given his past behavior, it's completely predictable that he'll try to split people up or destroy their bonds, simply because it's easier for him to manipulate and have power over wolves who are separated from their pack.
That's what you do, isn't it? That's what you've always done. Turn family against family, turn sister against sister.
Eventually, and inevitably, Littlefinger's way of playing the game just burns too many people too badly for them to forget about it. Littlefinger destroys himself by forgetting that just because he's smart, it doesn't mean everyone else is stupid. As we saw in our last video comparing Ned Stark's and Jon Snow's versions of honor, early seasons of the show set up honor and intelligence as opposing traits, at odds with each other. But over time, the show subverts this clean opposition. So the interesting twist that happens by the end of Season 7 is that characters like Jon and Sansa show us how being honorable can be smart, while Littlefinger shows us how being too smart and dishonorable is eventually dumb. Littlefinger doesn't realize that after a while, he's actually become pretty transparent and not useful at all.
Who do you truly serve?
The realm, my lord. Someone must.
Varys shares the same talents and tactics as Littlefinger, but his underlying mission and motives couldn't be more different. Varys is sympathetic to the sufferings of the poor.
You wish to know where my true loyalties lie? Not with any king or queen, but with the people.
And he believes in a cause higher than himself. Ultimately, he has the best interest of the common people at heart.
What is it you want exactly?
Peace. prosperity. A land where the powerful do not prey on the powerless.
But we might not have noticed this for a while, because Varys' idealism is hidden beneath a cloak of shrewd pragmatism.
When you look at me, do you see a hero?
After standing by the Mad King, he has remorse for what he let happen.
It's what I told myself when I watched them beg for mercy. I'm not the one doing it.
And he acutely feels the sufferings of the unfortunate. Still, he originally agrees with Robert's decision to have Daenerys assassinated.
I want him dead. Mother and child, both.
Who gave the order to kill me?
King Robert.
Because he sees it as the only way to avoid another bloody civil war that would hurt the poor most.
It is a terrible thing we must consider, a vile thing. Yet we who presume to rule must sometimes do vile things for the good of the realm.
But he can't tolerate Joffrey's limitless cruelty, and does everything he can to work against Joffrey. Eventually, Varys comes to serve Dany's cause, because he believes in her as a ruler.
I will dedicate myself to seeing you on the Iron Throne because I choose you. Because I know the people have no better chance than you.
Varys' ultimate goal makes him a kindred spirit with both Daenerys and Tyrion. Like Dany, he thinks the good of the common people is more important than anything. Like Tyrion, he's also very realistic about the cynical world he lives in. So his practical, skeptical side is always wrestling with his desire to do what's right for society. Varys is still safe, at least for now, as one of Daenerys' advisors. It's possible that his eventual demise could come from an inability to understand the mystical forces at play, which he's tended to dismiss.
But the sorcerer called, and a voice answered. And ever since that day, I have hated magic and all those who practice it.
Or his pragmatism that tends to hold him back could get in his way once more. Whatever ultimately happens, Varys has earned our respect in a way that Littlefinger never did, because his ingenious plotting and information gathering don't just serve his own ego.
There are many who know that without you, this city faced certain defeat. The king won't give you any honors, the histories won't mention you, but we will not forget.
As it stands at the end of Season 7, Littlefinger's gone and Varys remains. And in this simple fact, Game of Thrones sends the message that intrigue and deception only work for so long if there's no purpose underneath besides selfishness and power lust. The truth always comes out, and if you stand for nothing besides yourself, sooner or later, you will end in disgrace. Varys continues to show how helpful schemes, alliances, and trickery can be when they're directed toward the good of society and a better life for all. Hey guys, we're guessing you're missing Game of Thrones, so we've got a few ideas for how you can survive the drought. If you love Daenerys' badass vibe, now might be the time to start watching or rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
If you love historical epics full of battle scenes and hot romance, go for Troy or The 300.
If you like the Wars of the Roses history that partially inspired Game of Thrones, you can try Hollow Crown, a British TV adaptation of some of Shakespeare's histories. If you're into the interconnected storylines and keeping track of lots of different characters, try Robert Altman's Shortcuts or Nashville.
That's a lot of characters, so listen closely.
I love Altman. He's one of my all-time favorite directors.
Absolutely, me too.
If you like scheming, power struggles, and seeing people stabbing each other in the back, try House of Cards or Empire.
And if you enjoy getting sucked into a world with endless lore and backstories, there's always Lord of the Rings.
Thought is bent on it.
Or if you have the time, all of Star Trek.
And please subscribe if you're new here.